Man, I got really bad news for you. The truth is that many of you, regardless of the economy, regardless of home prices, many of you will never, ever have the chance to own a home. And I'm not saying that to be funny or anything like that. I'm just calling a spade, especially if you look like me, because in my community, like the African American community or whatever you want to call it, only about 40 to 45% of us actually are homeowners. So yeah, a lot of us won't be homeowners either. Welcome to the club. And that means that if you're not going to be a homeowner, that means that you are going to be stuck renting forever. Like for the rest of your life, your payment is going to be due on the 1st and late by the 5th. And today, if you ask any homeowner, like especially anybody who bought their home over the last couple of years, they're probably going to laugh and say, ha ha ha, like you should have bought a home when I bought a home. Or I've got so much equity in my home that I'm going to be rich forever. I'm so happy I bought my home. And you just like, nobody cares. I'm tired of hearing about it. I got my own problems to deal with. I mean, it's great that some people are building equity and living the American dream. But let's be honest, certain people or some people are never going to be homeowners. And if that's you, we're actually going to put to rest the debate whether buying or renting is better in terms of making money, in terms of having money for the future. Which one is really better? Because it's not as clear cut as you thought it would be. So when you talk to people about buying a home, I mean, obviously I would know I do it tons of times a day. When you talk to people about buying a home, that's the number one thing they say. Mark, I want to buy a home so I can build equity and have something to give my kids for the future. Well, if that were 100% true, then that means that if you don't own a home, then you have nothing to leave your kids in, and you just don't have anything to leave them for the future. And that just isn't true. I mean, ultimately, there are three types of people. There are people who hate renting, people who want to buy a home but can't afford a home, and people who love owning a home. And no matter which one you are, we're going to talk about the data. What does the data say in terms of who actually comes out better when it comes to buying or renting? But before we get further on, you already know what time it is, Genius Crew. Drop the track. Welcome back, and Happy New Year, Genius Crew. I didn't forget about you. I know it's been a while since I dropped a video, but I've been getting things set up with the business. We have new employees, and we had to get ready to have a fabulous year this year in 2024. And of course, if you've seen me before, you know I'm sporting a new cut. Comment below, let me know if you like the old Market Genius or you're rocking with the new clean cut one. But if this is your first time coming here or first time viewing the video on this channel, I honestly ask you to subscribe, like the video. We drop a lot of thought-provoking information here on this channel. And it's never about feelings. It's all about the data to make sure that we keep real estate real. And we're one of the few people who do it. So go ahead, sit back. Let's get into the debate over buying versus renting. Those of you who are on the side who are already homeowners, you're probably going to say that that's the best way to build wealth. And those of you who are renting, you're probably saying that, you know what, it doesn't really matter because either A, you don't want a home, or B, you're doing the best you can. And you know what? Maybe you'll never be able to buy a home. We're going to put that to rest right now. So in order to figure out who actually wins or has more money in the long run, we're going to look at this special tool, right? It takes a look at a scenario that we've set up here, right? Now, scenario is, let's say that somebody buys a home today. And we're going to use Metro Atlanta prices. So right now, the median home price for Metro Atlanta is $370,000, right? So in this scenario, you've got two people. One person is buying a home for $370,000. The other person can't buy a home, or maybe they're just choosing not to buy a home, and they're renting a 3-bedroom apartment or house, with the average here in Metro Atlanta also being around $2,039 per month. We're going to take into account inflation, taxes, all of those things that are going to happen over the next 30 years. And we're going to take a look at who actually comes out on top, who actually has more money. Now, before I get started, go ahead and comment below. Let me know what you think. Don't cheat. Go ahead, comment below right now and tell me who you think is going to actually have more money in the long run. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, here we go. We're going to jump into this handy dandy tool. Let's go ahead and break it down. So this tool is going to calculate your break-even point by examining how long it would take to create enough equity in your home to exceed the value of investing your cash on hand as a renter. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, both people have $30,000 right now in cash. I forgot to mention that part. So person buying the house has $30,000 to put towards buying a house, and the person who's renting just has $30,000 in savings. Continuing, if your rent payment is less than your net house payment, the tool adds that monthly savings to your investment. So obviously your mortgage is going to be more expensive at today's rates and today's home prices than renting. We already know that, all right? Now, this tool is going to take into account what happens if you invest the difference, which is something that I preach all the time. If you can't buy, just keep renting and invest the difference, and you'll thank yourself later on. Give it a couple of years and you'll look back and say, ooh, it's looking pretty nice. And if your house payment is less than your rent payment, which these days it's not, the tool subtracts that amount from your investment. Now, when calculating equity, it is assumed that your home's equity will increase at a rate of 4.5% per year, and you have an income tax rate of 22%. This tool also subtracts a 6% sales commission paid to brokers or real estate agents when you sell your home. Now, here is a chart that explains what happens over the next 30 years, all right? And I know the chart may be hard for most people to understand, so we're just gonna look at it really quickly, but you'll notice that after 30 years, you actually don't have more money in equity versus what you would have had if you invested. But I know that the chart doesn't really give the whole story. So let's take a look at these numbers below. So for starters, let's talk about the loan that you have, right? So at today's rates, 6.6%, or what the average rates are, your total monthly payment is estimated to be $3,348.50. Your down payment is estimated to be $19,000. And you had a home price of $370,000. This is for a 30-year mortgage with the interest rate of 6.6 and the amount of $350,000. And your total closing costs for this loan are estimated at $10,714. Okay. Now your average monthly rent is $2,069. Expected inflation rate of 3% annually. 3%. That's what the Fed is trying to get down to 2%. But in this tool, we're using 3% annually, was used to estimate future rent and property taxes. And the rate of return for investments was 13.8. Now, where did I get this 13.8 number from? That is about the average rate of return for about the last 15 years if you would have invested into the S&P 500 only. Just the S&P 500, 13.8% over the last 15 years. Now, let's take a look at your monthly payment breakdown, which includes your payment or your principal, your interest, taxes, and insurance, all right? So blue column here, your rent payment, all right, $2,131. House payment, $3,384. Add in the tax savings because obviously you do have some tax benefits of being a homeowner. And you also have your initial principal payment, which is like, oh my God, you're not going to believe like how mortgages amortize. I mean, it's crazy. And your net house payment is $2,562 after you subtract some of those things. One quick thing that I will mention about purchasing a home, and you're going to see it here. This blew my friend's mind when I told him earlier today, is that when you have a mortgage, believe it or not, your payment doesn't really go down. And I know you're probably thinking like, well, hey, if I have a loan and I'm paying it off, shouldn't my payment go down? No. I mean, it would be great if it did, but when your home appreciates, so do your property taxes. So does your insurance. So a lot of times, like, yeah, your home payment is going to go up as you continue to pay on that home over these 30 years. Now let's get into the part that really breaks everything down, okay? So remember, you got $30,000. You're going to put that directly into the S&P. You're going to invest the difference between what you would have been paying on your mortgage and what you're paying in rent, all right? So let's look. Year one, right? Year one, mortgage payment or house payment, $3,348. Rent payment, $2,069. Your value of your investment at the end of year one, $44,197. And your home equity is $16,500. $583. All right. Now, as we scroll down, right, 5 years later, all right, so 5 years after you purchased the house, 5 years after you've been investing, your house payment is $3,500 a month. Your rent payment is $2,300 a month, and your investment, $120,000 approximately. Home equity, $104,000. Not too far off, right? Now, what happens after 20 years? Now, as we scroll down here to 20 years, your mortgage payment, $4,184. Your rent payment, $3,628. There's a huge difference in the amount that you have in your investment account versus equity. Your investment account, after 20 years, you have $1,096,254. And you only have $640,000 worth of equity. And what does it look like towards the end? Well, in year 30, when you finally pay off your mortgage, your last payments will be $5,075. If you're still renting by then, you'll have $4,875 to pay for rent. But your investment or your investment account at this point will be very nice. $4,005,500 compared to $1,300,000 in equity. So let's talk about those numbers here. As you can see, and you just learned, that if you are stuck renting, right, it's not the end of the road for you. You could always take the extra money because, wait a minute, there are a lot of people that I know that can afford to pay a mortgage, but they just can't qualify for the type of home that they want. In that scenario, then you'll be better off, for right now at least, just invest in the difference. Invest into the S&P 500. That's a very good way to build your portfolio, to build your wealth over the future. And then later on down the line, you can decide if you want to, buy a house whenever you get ready. But some of you all, you'll look at these numbers and say, you know what, I will never buy a home. It's completely up to you. And also, I know that appreciation is different in a lot of different markets. So this is not meant to be like the Bible of renting versus buying. There are other factors to consider that don't involve money, like if you want to live in a certain school district, have a certain quality of life, that's important to you. Look, go ahead, buy the house. This isn't to help you decide whether you should buy or rent. This is more so geared towards the people, especially those in my community, who will never be able to own a house, unfortunately. And it's not the end of the road for you. You do have a lot of things that you can do. And as you've seen right here, if you don't own a house and you just choose to invest your money that you would be paying in a mortgage and the difference of that versus your rent, trust me, you will be far better off in the future. So let me know, does this settle the debate of buying versus renting for you? Are you one of the people who says, you know what, I'm just going to buy a house and invest? That's probably the smartest thing to do. Or are you one of those people who you just don't believe the numbers? You think like this is like full of smoke and I don't know, you don't trust the numbers that were put in front of you. It's up to you. Make sure you comment below. Let me know what you think. And of course, if you need to learn how to invest, I have a course that'll teach you. It's only $99. Teach you how to invest into S&P 500 and other stocks as well, to make sure that you can grow your portfolio and grow your wealth, whether you're buying or renting. Peace.